Maybe I'll tell you what the questions are, and then you can tell me which one you feel more called to answer. One of them was, what are the 3 tracks of psychedelic legitimization, and where do you see the problems in each one? The other one is, what is your perspective on Terence McKenna and others like him? And then another one would be to ask you to talk about short-term effects of profoundly altering the natural cycles of the serotonin system. And then
We talked about that a little bit, not in those terms, but we've already kind of covered the fallout that happens through like the softening up. It's kind of the same question. I don't want to go back to that.
So how about the last one was ketamine addiction, if you wanted to talk a little bit about ketamine addiction.
You want to talk about Terence instead?
Okay.
I'm not sure what there is to say about ketamine addiction other than it's insidious and it's bad. But I don't know. If you just say talk about ketamine addiction, I don't know what to say. But
well, I would probably talk my own thing is that I feel like this is especially talking about your perspective on psychedelic ideas, that ketamine seems to offer extremely interesting ideas that are intellectually stimulating and almost romantic, that feels like I'm being given a piece of a mystery, and that the more I learn about that mystery, the greater the sense that, I'm going to discover something even more profound. But the only complication is that in order to do so, I need to keep taking more ketamine.
Right. Yeah, that's the mystery will be solved right around the corner feeling. It's like the end of the mystery is right around the corner, and if I can just get around the corner, that big final piece of the mystery will be delivered, and I'll have it all. And I definitely got into that with ketamine. If ketamine, it does feel like it's revealing something cosmic to you. Like there is a cosmic purpose, and everything is moving in this like clockwork or this pattern that's unfolding, and everything is being delivered to you, like you said, in these sort of snippets or vignettes of information, and it's saying like, yes, it's really important. It's really important. There's something big coming, but you just gotta take a little bit more ketamine before you can get to that point where the big thing is going to be revealed. And I remember one night when I was on ketamine, I got this urgency that there was something in the house. The thing that the ketamine was trying to show me was somewhere in the house, and it was like a hide and seek thing, like a warmer and colder. Like I was going through the house and it was like, no, it's not here. I was going through the house and I was like, no, it's not here. And finally I got into my office and I could just see like all of this stuff. Like it wasn't like smoke, maybe like glitter in the air, just sort of this turbulent glitter that was all coming down in a cyclone. And the cyclone was swirling and swirling and swirling and swirling and swirling and swirling, and it was all going back down into the bottle of ketamine. And I was like, oh, that's the mystery. The mystery is coming out of the bottle. And now that I'm at the end of the mystery, it's leading me back to the beginning. And the whole thing turned out to be like this big loop where you take the ketamine and you go on this voyage. And at the end of the voyage, it's like, what's the point? Where is the surprise at the end? And the surprise at the end is more ketamine. And it was one of these revelations where I just went, of course, the mystery comes out of the bottle. The mystery comes out of the bottle. And if you want the mystery to keep going, you have to pull it out of the bottle and put it into yourself. And then there you go. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So yeah, that's John Lilly called it the repeat use trap, and it definitely is a repeat use trap. I mean, the ketamine is like a TV series that ends on a cliffhanger every time, and you just want to go back and see the next episode because the cliffhanger is going to be revealed the next time you do it. So yeah,
and people end up dying from ketamine addiction, yeah. And even John Lilly almost died because of ketamine.
Oh yeah, he drove his car off a cliff. He had a couple different accidents while he was just high and trying to function in the world. And it didn't it didn't work out for John Lilly. I mean, he sort of derailed his career. There's a lot of people like that in the psychedelic community who sort of derailed their lives, seeking something. And we could go back to your question about Terence, because
and before you get into that question about Terence, during the interview you made this comment about liking the direction that I was going, and I actually, having listened to the last 10 episodes, one of the things that occurred to me was I was like, holy fuck, I do not want to go off the rails here. I came back from the ayahuasca experience I was explaining to you in the main interview, and I just felt like I was just tapped in. But then in hindsight, I was actually straight up psychotic. I was speaking as though I were the voice of God. I felt like I knew everything about the structure and nature of consciousness. And then as it went away, for a while there, I was feeling depressed that I was no longer able to tap in to this profound spiritual wisdom, until I realized, like, what I'm missing is actually my mania.
Yeah.
And I want to be really conscientious being in a position that I'm in, not to lose the magic and the fun and the play and like the how much I enjoy just like wrapping off on very interesting ideas, but I also don't want to find myself shifting off into someone who has to, my whole sense of self-worth has existed in some sort of post-hallucinogenic psychotic mania. Yeah.
And the reason I said that I appreciated the work that you're doing is because I think from the first book that you did, the
Decomposing the Shadow.
Decomposing the Shadow. I was trying to like understanding the darkness. The Decomposing the Shadow. Yeah. You talk a lot about the history of the mushroom and mushroom is healing, but you also, you had a very personal voice, right? I didn't feel like you were preaching, right? I felt like you were talking about an understanding that you had come to in your own. You were always couching everything as like, this is a personal understanding that I've come to, or this is a thought that I've had, or an understanding that I've come to. And I think that that's healthy to sort of couch it in, this is my own personal journey, right? And I'm sharing my personal journey with you, and maybe you can learn something from my personal journey, because I've certainly learned something from my personal journey. So here you go. Here's the information. Now, I think maybe Terence started off that way, where he was saying, hey, yeah, mushrooms are amazing, and DMT is amazing, and the world can change with these substances. We can actually make a new world with these substances. I actually start talking like Terence.
I notice I do the same thing.
It's a tick that I have. But Terence went off the rails somewhere in the 80s, and I'm not sure if it was, post one of his books becoming really successful, where I think he stopped checking himself personally for whether or not he was going off the rails. I think he was getting so much love and feedback from the community and so much support that it went to his head. And everybody's egos are vulnerable to being inflated. If you have enough people following you around saying that you're a genius, give me more, you're a genius, give me more. And I think that when Terence had people saying, you're a genius, give me more, give me more, give me more, he started, scrabbling to come up with anything, more. The grandiosity levels had to rise from, I think maybe it was Food of the Gods that put him on the map to the point where people would basically listen to anything he said. Because he started talking about mushrooms at the beginning of mankind, mushrooms at the beginning of evolution, how mushrooms have shaped the world from the beginning. They may actually be spores from outer space. They may have their own agenda. The mushrooms may be controlling us. We may be in a symbiotic relationship with the mushrooms. And he goes into this, this crazy cosmology about how all of civilization on the planet is actually a conspiracy fabricated by the mushrooms to make apes sentient. Right? It's when you read through all of Terence's philosophy, we are basically puppets for the sentient mushroom network across the galaxy, colonizing this planet through smart apes. Okay, so he gets so far out there into outer space, and he's talking about DMT elves and all of this other crazy stuff about dimensions and hyperdimensional space. Now, the farther he went off on the rails, now he was just, I think, a storyteller at first. And he was just kind of going off on a lark. Like, I have these ideas. They're big ideas. Maybe they're crazy ideas, but I'm going to spin them. And he was such a good storyteller that people loved him and they wanted more. And as he became more famous and as he became more popular, he also became more isolated and withdrawn. And at the height of his success in the community, his family was falling apart. He got a divorce. He became estranged from his kids for a while. He moved to a really isolated spot on the Big Island of Hawaii and just surrounded himself with like fans and sycophants who were just there to sort of, say, yeah, Terence, way to go. You're the man. And by isolating himself in that bubble, I think he lost perspective of what was real and what was true. And, maybe lost the respect of his family and lost a lot of, the social, his family was going to, have him put in an institution for a while because he just couldn't stop talking about this stuff, the time wave, how the world was going to end in 2012 and the I Ching and the time wave. And the farther he got into the time wave and the more people got interested in this sort of end of the world rap that he had, the farther away he got from anybody who was actually going to be open and honest with him as a human being. He became a cartoon character of himself. He became a caricature of Terence McKenna. No longer the man, but the guru. And
which is exactly what he preached against, which is interesting.
And I knew Terence okay. I spent some time with him. I wouldn't say we were friends, but we corresponded, and I'd done a couple interviews with him, and we chatted at different shows and stuff. But I really felt sad at the end when he got sick, and he was kind of alone. He had a girlfriend at that point who was taking care of him, and a couple of friends and caretakers that were taking care of him. But it was really members of the psychedelic community who were like going out to visit him and help him out in those later days, because he didn't really have any family left that he can count on, except for Dennis. Dennis helped him out, of course. His younger brother was gonna be there for him, but it was sad, I thought, at the end to see how kind of isolated and alone he became, even though people see him as like really successful and really popular and having a huge following worldwide. I think he was, in the end, really kind of alone and alienated. And it made me definitely think, I don't want to end up like that. I don't want to go off the rails. I don't want to alienate my family. I don't want to become like the kind of celebrity where I just live for people's, praise of my work. And even when I was writing psychedelic information theory, like every day I would ask myself, am I a kook? Am I crazy? Am I trying to forward some theory that's going to turn me into a guru? Which is why I kind of kept it very clinical and very, very scientific based, is because I didn't want to be a caricature. I didn't want to become the cartoon character, and I didn't want to be sad and alienated in my own delusional world. And I think as long as you have self-awareness and a place to go home to where people love you and nurture you and care about you and will call you on your BS, I think that is really more important than like fame and people listening to your philosophy or worshiping you as a genius. I think those things are really the only things of value in the world. It's like having that place where you can be yourself and be loved and nurtured and feel safe.